Excuse me, sorry, hi, can you act?
Act?
Yes, I just need you for 1 hour. Or 50 minutes. Or even 45. Please, sir, I'm begging you.
Snow dusted the glass roof of Imperial Mall, the busiest shopping center in Seoul. Christmas lights draped every corner like glittering vines, children ran around clutching hot cocoa, and the air smelled like cinnamon and roasted chestnuts. But Olivier Rosewood was not enjoying any of it. She was pacing like someone whose life depended on it. No, 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 this cannot be happening, she whispered, clutching her tote bag to her chest. Her curly black hair bounced as she spun in circles, eyes scanning the crowd desperately. She had 30 kids waiting back at the Little Lights Community Center. 30 excited kids. 30 kids who believed Santa was coming today. And Santa, the volunteer who promised to play him, had just texted her. Sorry. Got food poisoning. Can't make it. Food poisoning. Food poisoning. Olivier felt her soul leaving her body. The Christmas party started in 1 hour. The Santa costume was already pressed and ready. Presents were wrapped. The kids had practiced a dance. The parents were taking time off work. She couldn't fail them. Think, Olivier. Think, she muttered, tapping her forehead. Take a deep breath. Impossible. Find another volunteer. Everyone was either at work or terrified of kids. Hire someone? With which money? Her salary could barely cover her rent. Oh God, she groaned dramatically, collapsing onto a bench. I am going to disappoint 30 innocent children and ruin Christmas. I'm basically the Grinch with better hair. She covered her face. Then, a shadow fell over her. A tall shadow. Olivier looked up and froze. A man stood in front of her, hands in the pockets of a black hoodie, head slightly lowered beneath the hood. She could only see half his face. Sharp jawline, full lips, the faintest stubble. He looked like the type of man who should be in a movie, not walking around a mall on a weekday. Tall, solid, ridiculously handsome, mysterious, and definitely not someone she should be staring at. But she was desperate. Desperate. Before her brain caught up, Olivier blurted, "Excuse me, sorry. Hi. Can you act?" He blinked. Slowly. Under the hood, she saw confusion in the shape of his brows. Act? He repeated, voice deep and smooth. Yes. She jumped up. I just need you for 1 hour, or 50 minutes, or even 45. Please, sir. I'm begging you. He took a step back. Olivier stepped forward. My kids need a Santa, she said breathlessly. And my original Santa canceled. And the backup Santa moved to Busan yesterday. And I know you don't know me, but I promise I'm not crazy. You seem a little crazy, he murmured. She slapped both hands over her mouth. He was right. She did sound insane. She inhaled deeply. Then tried again. Okay, look. She placed a hand over her heart dramatically. I work with disadvantaged kids. This party means the world to them. And I cannot let them down. He stared at her. She stared back. 1 second. 2.5. Olivier swallowed hard. I can pay you, she added quietly. I don't have a lot, but I can give you a $20? Maybe 30? And a cookie. He blinked again. Then, a soft laugh escaped him. So soft she almost didn't hear it. $20, he said slowly. And a cookie. Yes. She clasped her hands together. Please. You'd be saving Christmas. He sighed, looked at her, looked at the ceiling, then looked back at her again. Do you have the costume? Yes. Do I have to say ho ho ho? Absolutely. He stared at her with the expression of a man questioning all of his life choices. Then, fine. Olivier released a scream so loud 2 elderly women turned around. Oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. She grabbed his hand. Warm, strong, large, and without thinking twice. Come on, Mr. Santa. We need to catch the bus. She dragged the tall stranger through the mall. He let himself be pulled, shaking his head as if he couldn't believe what he'd just agreed to. Under his lowered hood, his lips curved into a tiny, amused smile. He had no idea who she was. She had no idea who he was. And in 1 hour this ordinary favor would change both of their lives forever. The Little Lights Community Center smelled like sugar cookies, pine needles, and chaos. Olivier ran through the front door, tugging the tall stranger behind her. "Quick! The kids are about to start the performance," she yelled. He stopped at the threshold, looking around at the colorful decorations, the glittering tinsel, and the little faces staring at him with wide, expectant eyes. His expression froze. He hadn't signed up for this. Olivier noticed his hesitation. They're excited," she said nervously. "You'll be fine. Just act happy. Be jolly. Ho ho ho." He raised an eyebrow. "You really expect me to just be Santa?" "Yes," she shouted, hands flailing. "Pretend you like candy. Pretend you like children. Pretend you like me yelling at you like a lunatic." He blinked slowly, then sighed. And that sigh, Olivier thought, he's going to survive this. Somehow. Olivier shoved a giant red Santa suit at him. It smelled faintly of mothballs and peppermint. Is this small?" he muttered, holding up the jacket. No, that's perfect. Wait, maybe you need the pants? Oh my God. I forgot the belt." Within 2 minutes, he was awkwardly stuffed into the suit. The hat was too big and kept slipping over his eyes. The fake beard kept sticking to his lips, and the boots squeaked every time he moved. "Don't move," Olivier instructed urgently. "Seriously, don't. Okay, breathe. Smile. Smile like you actually like children." He swallowed and nodded. The children gathered around. Some whispered, "Is that Santa real?" Others screamed, "Santa is here." Olivier took a step back. Her eyes scanned the room nervously. "Okay, kids," she whispered. "Give Santa a big welcome." He stepped forward. "Ho ho ho," he bellowed. The sound was terrifying. A cross between a foghorn and someone gargling soda. The kids froze. Some laughed. Some screamed. One little boy ran under a table. Olivier winced. Maybe softer?" she muttered. He tried again. "Ho ho ho." Softer. Still terrifying. Finally, after several attempts and Olivier frantically coaching him, he found a rhythm. By the end of the first song, he was crouched on the floor, handing out gifts like a pro, albeit still muttering under his breath every time a child touched his beard. During a break, Olivier approached him. "You did amazing," she said. "Really? The kids love you." He cut her off, still breathing hard from crawling around handing out toys. "Are you insane?" he asked. "Do you always throw parties for 30 kids without a backup plan?" She laughed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Yes, constantly, but sometimes it works out." He looked at her. Something in his eyes softened. "Sometimes," she shrugged. "I guess sometimes you find people who actually save your Christmas." He blinked. And for a moment the room quieted. No laughter. No crying. No jingling bells. Just the soft sound of two hearts noticing each other. Then a little girl tugged on his sleeve. "Santa, can you help me with my candy cane?" He smiled. This one was real. And for the first time that day he didn't mind pretending. By the time Olivier returned to the children after helping with decorations, the tall stranger had fully settled into his Santa role. He was crouched next to a little boy, carefully tying the boy's shoes over the oversized boots of the costume. The fake beard had finally been tamed, sitting awkwardly but harmlessly on his face. Olivier stopped in her tracks, surprised. He's actually good at this. The children were mesmerized. Some were laughing, some were shyly approaching him, and others were practically climbing his legs in excitement. "Ho ho ho," he called, now with a hint of genuine warmth. It wasn't perfect, but it was real enough to melt the tension in Olivier's chest. When he noticed Olivier watching him, he pulled off the hat slightly, revealing his sharp features beneath. "You're watching me?" he said, voice muffled by the beard. Yes," Olivier admitted, cheeks flushing. No, you're doing really well, that's all. It's impressive." He tilted his head under the fake beard, one brow raised. Impressive, huh? He said, smirking. Olivier laughed nervously. Yes, you're Santa material. Before she could continue, a small girl tugged at her apron. Teacher Olivier, Santa's giving me candy. She turned, realizing the stranger had just handed out candy canes with an almost magical charm. The way he smiled at the kids, the way he knelt to meet their eyes, it was natural. This isn't an ordinary man, she thought. Not just because he's tall, handsome, or mysterious, there's something in him that feels right. During a short break, Olivier handed him a cup of hot cocoa. He took it, eyes softening as he looked around at the excited children. Why are you doing this? She asked, quietly curious. He shrugged, sipping slowly. I'm not sure. I guess it's fun seeing them happy. Fun? She laughed. You're exhausted. You crawled under tables. You delivered presents. You almost tripped over a kid. He chuckled softly, eyes crinkling at the corners. Maybe, but it's worth it. Olivier felt her heart skip a beat. The room buzzed with laughter, jingles, and excitement around them. But in this moment, it felt like they were alone. She smiled. Thank you, really. You saved this party. He met her eyes, lingering a second too long. Don't mention it, he said. But she could hear it, the sincerity, the quiet pride, and maybe a hint of something more. The children gathered for a final group picture. Olivier stood behind them, adjusting little hats and scarves. The stranger knelt down, smiling under the beard, and held up the camera phone for a selfie with the kids. Say cheese, he called. And for the first time all day, his voice was completely natural. Olivier's chest warmed. There was something about him, this stranger who stepped in like a hero, who smiled, who listened, who made the children feel like the world was magical. She didn't know his name or where he came from. She didn't know why he looked like he belonged in a magazine instead of a mall. And she definitely didn't know the truth hiding beneath that simple hoodie. All she knew was that Santa was more than a costume today. He was remarkable. After the kids had finally been picked up by their parents, the Little Lights Community Center slowly emptied. The chaos of gift-giving, laughter, and singing gave way to a quiet warmth. Olivier sank into a chair behind the desk, letting out a long sigh. Finally she muttered, massaging her temples. The stranger, still in his oversized Santa suit, sat across from her, sipping the last of his cocoa. He'd rolled up the sleeves and loosened the hat, but the beard still clung stubbornly to his face. You're very persistent, he said, voice soft but amused. You really love your work, don't you? Olivier nodded, smiling faintly. I do. These kids, they don't have much. If I can give them one day of happiness, one day where they feel like they matter, it's worth everything. He leaned back in the chair, studying her. There was something about the way her dark eyes sparkled even under exhaustion. Something honest, warm, and unguarded. You're amazing, he said quietly. Olivier blinked. Excuse me? He shook his head. No, it's nothing. I've met a lot of people in my life, but you stand out. Her cheeks flushed. She looked down at her hands, pretending to adjust the pens on her desk. Thank you, I think, she whispered. He laughed softly, breaking the tension. You're awkward. I am not, Olivier protested, though she couldn't keep a smile off her face. Yes, you are, but it's charming. For a moment, they just sat there, sharing a quiet laugh. The hectic energy of the party had dissipated, leaving only a gentle calm. It was like discovering a hidden side of the stranger, one that wasn't Santa, one that wasn't a mystery. Olivier leaned back in her chair. You know, I wasn't sure you'd actually show up today. I mean, you could have said no. He shrugged casually, though his eyes softened. I said yes, and I don't regret it. Not for a second. Her stomach fluttered. Why do I feel like my heart just skipped a beat? Would you like to get a coffee? Olivier asked suddenly, almost embarrassed by her own boldness. He tilted his head. A coffee? Yes, she said, standing. To celebrate surviving the Christmas party. He hesitated, then smiled faintly. All right, sure. They walked out of the center together, the snow falling softly around them. Olivier shivered, and he instinctively draped the Santa coat over her shoulders. "Better?" he asked. "Yes," she said softly, brushing the fabric around her. Their hands brushed for a moment. Neither of them pulled away. They walked down the street to a small cafe nearby. Inside, the smell of roasted coffee beans and baked goods was warm and inviting. They sat across from each other, sipping hot drinks. Olivier talked about the center, the children, and the little victories that made her work worthwhile. He listened, genuinely interested, asking questions, smiling at her stories, laughing at the funny mishaps. And she realized something startling. She didn't know his name. "So, you never told me your name," she said cautiously. He chuckled. "I guess I didn't think it mattered today. You can just call me Hoodie Santa." Olivier laughed, shaking her head. "Hoodie Santa. I like it. It suits you." For the first time, she noticed the way his dark eyes held a depth she couldn't quite place. Something secretive. Something untouchable. He smiled faintly, almost shyly. "Well, Hoodie Santa it is, then." And in that moment, Olivier realized she wanted to know more about the stranger. More than she probably should. The snow had settled into a soft, sparkling blanket over Seoul as Olivier walked back toward her apartment. The events of the day kept replaying in her mind. The kids' laughter, the tiny smiles of pure joy, and, of course, Hoodie Santa. She couldn't help but think about him. "Why am I thinking about him so much?" she asked herself aloud, shaking her head. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a message from an unknown number. "Hope you and the kids survived. Coffee soon." Her heart skipped a beat. She stared at it for a moment, then typed back, "Who is this?" Almost immediately, the reply came, "Hoodie Santa. Don't tell the kids." Olivier laughed softly, shaking her head. He really is playful. A few days later, they met at the same cafe. This time, there was no costume, no chaos, just the stranger in a simple hoodie and jeans, sipping black coffee. "You look less scary," Olivier teased, sliding into the seat across from him. He smirked. "I will try." They talked for hours. She told him stories about the center, the kids' quirky habits, and the small victories that made her job meaningful. He listened intently, asking questions, genuinely interested. There was a softness to him, a warmth that made her feel safe and understood. For the first time in weeks, Olivier felt completely relaxed around someone new. As they left the cafe, the wind picked up. Olivier shivered. Without thinking, Hoodie Santa draped his coat over her shoulders. "You're too cold," he said simply. "Thank you," she murmured, cheeks flushed not from the cold. Their hands brushed as she adjusted the coat. Neither pulled away. It was just a brief contact, but her stomach fluttered. She realized she hadn't felt this way in a long time, this mix of comfort and excitement. Later, alone in her apartment, Olivier couldn't stop thinking about him. "He's just a stranger," she told herself. "Nothing more. He helped with a party and had a good heart." But deep down, she couldn't deny it. There was something magnetic about him, something stirring. The thought made her both nervous and thrilled. She smiled to herself, tucking her hair behind her ear. Maybe Hoodie Santa isn't just a hero for the kids. Maybe he's a little hero for me too. The week after the Christmas party passed in a blur for Olivier. Snow still dusted the streets, and the city smelled faintly of pine and roasted chestnuts. But the lingering excitement of Hoodie Santa's unexpected help kept her spirits unusually high. Then, late one afternoon, her phone buzzed again. "Dinner tonight? I promise no costumes this time." Olivier blinked at the message. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She didn't know his full name. She didn't know much about him. And yet her heart leapt. "Okay," she typed back. "Where?" "A small place near the river. 7 p.m. Come hungry." That evening, Olivier arrived at the cozy restaurant, warmly lit with strings of golden lights and a faint scent of baked bread in the air. She scanned the room, and there he was, sitting at a corner table, hoodie gone, casual sweater, and that same unreadable expression softened by a gentle smile. He stood as she approached, You made it, he said simply. Of course, she replied, smiling. I wouldn't miss it. They sat down. The menu was modest, but the warmth of the place made it feel intimate. They talked, effortlessly, about everything and nothing. Books, favorite movies, childhood memories, even the strangest habits of the children at the center. Olivier found herself laughing more than she had in weeks. And each time he laughed, she felt a pull she couldn't explain. At one point, he leaned back, eyes studying her in a way that made her pulse quicken. You know, he said quietly, I didn't expect to enjoy today this much. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, why's that? He smiled faintly. Because usually, I'm the one who surprises people, not the other way around. But with you, I feel like you surprised me. Her cheeks warmed. Me? I just asked you to be Santa for an hour. No, he said softly. You reminded me how much I enjoy just being normal, being part of something that matters. Olivier's heart thudded. Normal. He made her feel like she was seeing something genuine, something rare. After dinner, they walked along the river, snow crunching under their feet. The city lights reflected in the water like millions of tiny stars. You're quiet, Olivier noted, glancing at him. I'm just enjoying this, he replied. The snow, the lights, you. Her chest tightened. You're really good at saying the right things, she whispered, half teasing, half sincere. He turned to her, close enough that she could see the warmth in his eyes. Maybe I just mean them. For a heartbeat, the world felt suspended. Then he smiled softly. I should probably get you home. Don't want you freezing out here. She nodded, though part of her didn't want the night to end. When he reached her door, he lingered. Neither moved. The air between them was charged, heavy with possibility. Thank you for dinner, Olivier said softly. No, he replied, shaking his head. Thank you for letting me be Santa, for letting me see a world I usually never get to see. Her lips parted slightly, and for a moment, she imagined what it would be like if he leaned in closer. But he only smiled and turned, walking away, and Olivier felt something new awaken in her chest. Curiosity, excitement, something more, something that promised this stranger, hoodie Santa, might not be a stranger for long. The days following the dinner passed quickly, yet Olivier found herself replaying every moment with hoodie Santa, his soft laugh, the way he listened, the faint warmth of his hand brushing hers under the table. She tried to focus on work at the center, but her thoughts kept drifting back to him. Then, one chilly morning, she got a text. Coffee before work? I promise no costumes today either. Her fingers hovered over the screen for a second before typing. Sure, 8 a.m. See you then. They met at a small cafe near the center. Hoodie Santa was already there, casually leaning against the counter in a plain sweater and jeans, a paper cup of coffee in hand. Good morning, he said, his voice calm and warm. Morning, Olivier replied, sliding into the chair across from him. She couldn't help smiling. They talked easily like old friends about the center, the kids' antics, and small city stories. Olivier felt herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected. You know, he said, looking at her over the rim of his cup, you care so much about those kids. It's rare to see someone so genuinely invested. Olivier's chest warmed. I've always believed that if you can give a child even a little hope, it's worth everything. Makes the world better, you know? He nodded, eyes softening. I get that, and I admire it. You make the world better just by being in it. Her cheeks flushed. You're really good at compliments. I mean them, he said simply, his gaze holding hers for a brief moment before he looked away. A walk through the snow. After coffee, they decided to walk to the center together. Snowflakes drifted lazily around them, soft and cold against their cheeks. Olivier shivered, and he immediately draped his coat over her shoulders. Better? He asked, voice gentle. Yes, thank you, she whispered, heart fluttering at the gesture. Their hands brushed accidentally as they walked side by side. Neither pulled away. Olivier felt a spark she couldn't ignore. The connection deepens. Over the next few weeks, Their meetings became a routine. Coffee in the mornings, lunch at small cafes, walks after work. The children had no idea that the man they only knew as Hoodie Santa was becoming something more than just a friend to Olivier. He listened to her. He laughed at her jokes. He remembered the smallest details. And she found herself anticipating his messages, his calls, his smile. One afternoon, as they sat on a park bench watching children build snowmen, he looked at her quietly. "You know," he said softly, "I don't usually do this, or meet people like you." Olivier tilted her head. "Meet people like me?" He smiled faintly. "Someone who makes me feel normal, grounded, happy." Her heart skipped. "I feel the same," she admitted. He looked at her, a flicker of something deeper in his eyes. But before either could say more, a group of children ran past, throwing snow into the air, breaking the moment. Olivier laughed, and he joined in, letting himself be pulled into the simple joy of the moment. That night, alone in her apartment, Olivier sat on the windowsill, watching snow drift softly outside. She thought about Hoodie Santa, about the way he made her feel safe, alive, and unexpectedly giddy. "There's something about him," she realized. "Something I can't explain. But I like it."
Find out what happens in their relationship in the next episode, which is coming up soon, by clicking on the notification icon. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also tell us the country you are watching us from in the comments section so that we will make a story for you.